I'm Austin Prey, Senior Reporter here at Payments. Joining me today is Finexio CEO Ernest Rolfson. Thanks for joining us today, Ernest.
Thanks for hosting me. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you again as well. We're here for an exciting conversation for Payments TV. Kind of as always, we're going to talk about automating accounts payable or AP systems for cost savings and kind of just, overall business and operational benefits. Kind of against that backdrop, AP departments tend to be increasingly due for modernization. From yours and from Finexio's perspective, what are some of the current inefficiencies and risks that are typical to existing AP processes? How can those risks present opportunities for strategic upgrades across payments, optimization, and security?
So I can't think of a more exciting topic to talk about myself. Just kidding. But no, it's a serious problem within these AP departments, completely inefficient from a standpoint of most of the work that they do is manual. So it's manual processes by hand, fragmented systems. When I say manual processes, many swivel chair operations across banking, accounts payable, invoicing platforms, physical paper invoices, physical paper checks. Exceptions around this lead to significant delays and errors. And then as it relates to the risk side of this as well, other than the money you're just letting go out the door nonsensically, it's around fraud. That's the biggest thing that CFOs, all of our partners and users are really keyed in on is if I'm manually handling payment information, if I'm manually handling bank account, if I'm manually handling information about payment changes or supplier address changes or bank account changes or disputes relating to the above. It's a lot of, again, it's risk, long story short. So it's that fraud protection component tied with how can you optimize and or automate work that is being done by hand, wasting a lot of time and costing dozens and dozens of man hours a month when you could do it digitally.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, and that would be a problem enough if the level of B2B, transactions and that volume were kind of staying the same.
Right.
But that volume is likely
They're not though. That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, most of the companies we work with need to grow or are growing, and they are not allowed to add people. And so their staff is being asked to, who are not very well paid, by the way, in an area around handling money. I can't think of something more frightening. They're being asked to do more and do manual work combined with strategic work. So you really can't scale without adding more bodies. And so what our clients and partners are looking for are software solutions that can solve beyond these human scale issues. They're not looking to cut costs or cut heads, right? They're looking to hold the line and get way more efficient. So having a variety of payment methods all in one place, right? Having real-time visibility into where your payments and your cash and your money is in one place, right? Having your payments be digital and the execution of those be automated, right? Having the exception process automated and resolved, right? Having security that's not only robust, but doesn't require your team manually dealing with banking info or trying to figure out if it's an AI chatbot on the other end of a phone line, doing that by hand, taking that out of the way. And that's where you're saving up to 84% of a team's time based on how backwards and manual the payment operation and back office operation is. But that's the only way for long-term success, right? Is having something that can provide scale and efficiency.
Yeah, and I love that call. It's not just providing scale and efficiency; it's doing so without the need for that kind of in-step increase in headcount as well. And so, just kind of when you're taking a look at the average, enterprise AP system, kind of do firms have more than one system? Is it kind of like different for each region? What is the current, if not maybe contemporary or modern AP situation look like?
Yeah.
these companies.
Yeah, well, they tend to have 3 to 5 disparate, disconnected systems, and many large organizations have unconsolidated, disparately run AP locations or departments. So you could have an accounting software, you may have a payment solution, you may have your bank, you may have electronic invoicing and AP, and then you may have some manual work. This is not connected at all. And as you could tell, so I just rattled off 5 different things here. You've got inconsistent data, duplication of effort, right? Increased risk for fraud. So, Finexio is baked into the world's leading accounts payable and procure to pay software platforms. And so what you're getting with the Finexio and our partners is that one platform. It does all your accounts payable, right? All of your payments decisioning, all of your payments execution, all of your payments management, and all of your security and data related to the payment, basically consolidating many of these different workflows and systems into one place at a cost that's dramatically lower than doing it on your own. So that's what we're kind of seeing as how can you consolidate, and then when you consolidate, how can you have even one platform that has even greater value and can demonstrate it because it's software that you can easily audit and understand, okay, I'm getting my money's worth from this versus, wow, I'm running 5 disparate things.
Yeah, I mean it's that visibility into kind of the ROI and am I getting my money worth from this is such a valuable thing. And it's true, as you said, with these disparate systems, it's very hard to kind of even measure the ROI when things are so fragmented.
You can't. I mean, one of the things that Finexio is the only, to my knowledge, we're the only company in the sector that has a customer value dashboard, because we think about this as value as a service. So every transaction on the Finexio platform and every even user and supplier operation is tracked at a granular level, and we put $1 to that. So we know, hey, you had 200 vendors change their banking information. We know what that's worth to you. We know, hey, you had 15 exceptions this month. We know that that's hours and hours you would have been spending by hand that now we prevented for you. That's completely game changing for people.
Absolutely. When it comes to this, optimization, even the monetization of the kind of payments occasion within B2B, as well as just, kind of things that are increasingly table stakes like security. How do modern, AP solutions enable this, and how do they drive business growth, compared to kind of the limitations of legacy systems?
That's a good question. What would I tell you? First of all, it's about looking at what processes are manual and having those automated. So we've been talking about that before, and that would be an example of hey, we're talking about fraud. So it's like, hey, someone's calling up and saying they're changing their bank account, and I'm physically taking a phone call, right? So with software like my company provides, that phone call never happens because it's all done through an electronic platform driven by the team is no longer doing this work. The platform and the software is doing this work, right? There's another component around upgrading the fraud and the fraud protection. So that is to say, having enhanced tools that are driving savings and preventing the fraud. Okay, so that may be like real-time fraud detection or transaction monitoring, or an example of a tool may be software platforms that can either automatically or with a trained certified fraud examiner like we employ here, leveraging technology to validate the counterparties and understand, hey, is this someone that's good to pay, for instance? So the value over time is around the analytics coming off of that, like I was just talking about, to demonstrate that you can drive value with this kind of approach to what we call this area we're referring to would be like supplier management, right? So those would be the steps, and I would say to do those things by yourself on your own is a multi-million-dollar investment. You even have to have the trained professionals on your team that even know how to string all this kind of framework together. It's not the business of most companies, right? They would just want something that just this has this all figured out.
Totally. And then, in a perfect world, kind of against an ideal backdrop where AP automation is kind of, the way of the road. These are data rich environments. People are pulling out these optimizations and things are just working better. Kind of what are some emerging trends you see redefining AP, on top of?
Yep. Yep. So I would say the one that is probably the most emerging, that has the greatest potential to redefine would be artificial intelligence, or said another way, machine learning, which I think can provide really strong either real time and or predictive analytics to help improve speed or operational efficiency. The two places where we're getting the most value out of this at our company, we were a very early adopter in artificial intelligence, is around the supplier network and supplier management, right? A typical corporate that I think really needs to be looking into these solutions is paying thousands of suppliers a year that are about 10% of which are changing each and every year. And so we leveraged at Finexio AI to get more than 90% correct in figuring out who can get paid what with what payment method, which is one of the biggest barriers or black holes that these AP teams have, because they don't even know, okay, well, I'm sending checks today. Who could I even tomorrow offer something other than a check? So having that insight to be able to say, okay, it's costing me $300,000 to run this department today. And after working with Finexio in 4 months, I'm now making $300,000 from running my department because I'm leveraging cards as a form of payment, in addition to check and ACH and other payment methods like we offer at Finexio. That is really powerful because it becomes a business planning tool. The other area, which I've already been touching on, is around the fraud and fraud detection and prevention, where that's pretty much becoming table stakes now, especially if you're in the money movement business, which my company is very much a supporter facilitating that for clients. But those are the big areas. I would say the last piece would be around just the whole concept of how can you be digital, and if you are digital and you are in one platform, what analytics and what information do you have around where your money is, number one, and number two, am I getting value from this? And I would say my challenge to the sector or to the broader industry is does a really poor job on the whole, particularly banks do a very poor job demonstrating that you're getting any value, that you're getting any savings, that you're driving any behavior change. And there's really a lack of analytics and support around, okay, here's what you did last month, here's what you're going to do next month, and here are the trends and here are the benchmarks. And so that's something that's deeply built into our company's DNA because we're so large, we're an embedded infrastructure company for the accounts payable and procure to pay space. So much of our platform partners want to get this information and get it into the hands of their end users to drive business performance. And I think that's been a piece that in the back office, this thought of, well, it just, it's a cost of doing business. No, you can drive significant performance out of any function, but you can't manage or improve anything that you can't measure. So across everything that I'm sharing, I think that's the kind of the trend is the auditability, getting the data off of all these areas, whether it's cost savings, whether it's security, whether it's having a better supplier enablement or supplier management network. All of these things are tied into, are you running a good accounts payable department or a bad accounts payable department? Are you running a good financial operation or a risky and money losing financial operation? Those are the things that I think we're uniquely positioned to help people with. And top performers we find are the ones that always want to get better, number one. And number two, it's been the generational shift as folks are retiring and bringing in the younger blood, so to speak, really trying to move into the modern era. Big opportunity for those folks.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of, it kind of goes without saying, but if there's a cost of doing business, that cost is going to be interrogated by the leaders and it's going to be taken for granted by the laggards. And so you kind of, you never
Correct.
take those at face value.
Correct. Correct.
And in that vein, kind of, what are some immediate steps that firms can take to implement, an AP solution that does deliver an ROI, against the backdrop where some firms may be, they're hesitant to touch it. It's a fragmented, opaque system.
Yeah. Yep. 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 I think that's a phenomenal question. I think the things that people can do now, and what's informing my commentary before I answer the question is we are onboarding billions of dollars of spend every single quarter across dozens and dozens of companies. And we process payments for some of the largest universities in the United States, for instance, some of the largest hotel chains and hotel locations in the United States. We're in a number of verticals. Those are just two key ones I've mentioned. We know what the problems are before doing this. And some of the biggest problems are companies just don't even know who they're paying. They don't have a great record of their vendors. They don't have a great vendor master. They don't have tax IDs. They don't have almost like any knowledge, right? So it's kind of this pure lack of knowledge, and the knowledge they have is completely disorganized or poorly set up in a way where you could track and or manage or strategically do anything with this. So that's a huge benefit that we bring to the table in terms of helping our clients and partners level up, is around get your data clean, get some hygiene, get thought, because you can't do anything. How could you manage strategically a migration of thousands of businesses from check to electronic without even knowing who they are, getting them organized, getting them situated, having some kind of analysis or segmentation, right, of your strategic versus non-strategic spend and supplier relationships. So that is a critical one, probably the biggest one. And then I would say number two would be around what is the goal? And do you have a clear goal around what you want to accomplish? And does the accounts payable team know that? And are they aligned with that? That would be number two. Number three would be around honesty, right? Around what's not working or how bad things are. And one of the things would be around fraud, for instance, where we look at all the fraud data, some of which your organization has published in research, and other great companies out there have published around the breathtaking rise of check fraud and other fraud. And we talk to clients or prospects routinely, and they're like, oh yeah, no fraud, never had fraud. We've never seen it at all. And we're like, we know that checks are just literally being taken out of the mail and stolen. And there's not a business in the country with any volume that would not have experienced that. And you can still find companies be like, oh yeah, no idea. And we're like, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And it also ties back to probably that, just the opacity of their own kind of internal, just departments, operations, and financial supply chains.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, for sure. I would say that the best way to get started on this, because I think I've given some really, in my mind, some tactical advice or examples of things that I see companies struggling with. I would say go and ask your software company, ask the software providers you work with, what payment solutions do you have? Who are you integrated with? What could you bring to the table? Because you're not getting any service from your bank. Your bank is just not set up to give you and provide service. So it's like, hey, what kind of service do you need? What kind of problems do you have? And what systems do you have? Seeing what those systems might provide or support, and how, how your specific situation can be handled by them. And very rarely, I think we're one of the only companies in the country that could handle everything I'm describing in one package. That's going to be extremely rare to find. We hope more companies find us. Is often it's cobbling a few things together. I would say it's rare that there's a silver bullet to any one of these problems as well.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and thank you for your time today. Great to speak.
Appreciate the interest. Thanks for the time.